Welcome back to Faith Walk with Debbie. I shared the last time how I had a PET scan and the results caused me a lot of fear. I'm going to continue sharing how multiple tests the devil really used to cause my mind and emotions to instill fear in me. The following Wednesday after I had had the PET scan, which was April 21st, 2021, I had to have a CT scan with contrast. And I knew because of the contrast I would have to have an IV, and I didn't think that they did it in through my port, so I had not numbed it. And after I got there, I was told I could have had it inserted through the port. I hate needles, especially IV needles. I had prepared myself for the fact that I was going to have an IV, so I just went ahead and had that since this port had not been numbed. I asked for a small needle because that could help it not hurt as bad. I could not believe how much it hurt when she inserted the needle. Now the table to the CAT scan was wider than the PET scan, and I had explained in the last post a little bit of the PET scan procedure for those who had never had that done before. The CAT scan I laid so they inserted my feet first instead of my head first like they did with the PET scan. I found that very interesting that they were two different directions. I was inserted into the machine where a couple pictures were taken. The nurse then came back and inserted the contrast into the IV. I asked if that would make my butt feel like it was on fire, and that may sound crazy to you, but I've had CAT scans before, and when they put the contrast in, it just feels like fires bursting out of your butt, and she said it would. So anyhow, while she put the contrast in, she told me to hold my arm up in the air, and I found that was different. She didn't tell me to lower my arm, and because I had the cloth over my eyes to help me not be claustrophobic, I couldn't tell when she left the room. So I kept it raised. And they moved my body into the machine again, and I felt my arm hit the side of the machine. At that point, I was then told I could put my arm down. That time, it was interesting. I did not feel my butt on fire. And I asked her why, and she said, probably because I had asked her to use a smaller IV needle, she had to insert the contrast slower, and therefore it didn't give the typical reaction. The CAT scan only took about 10 minutes, and then I left. The week I was waiting for test results, I really struggled. With fear. I tried to have faith, but fear overpowered my faith. I was anointed twice at church, and had him pray for good test results and that fear would leave. And honestly, I didn't really feel any better. However, God knew how much I was struggling with fear, and He encouraged me in a way I never expected. The evening after I had the CAT scan, I got a call from my gynecologist. Now, she's the doctor who strongly encouraged me to share my story through YouTube videos. She said she never gets any of my test results, and she got the CAT scan results. She thought that was really odd. So because of that, she studied my case notes for about a half an hour to try to figure out what was going on. She strongly felt impressed by God to call and encourage me. She looked at the CT results, and to her it looked like I had infection in my lungs. But that was not her area of expertise, so she really wasn't sure. She said God's promise still stands. She said that she got a positive impression from God that I'm gonna be okay. She said that I'm to go to the doctor appointment the next day, get the test results, but no matter what they are, I'm to know God says I will be fine, because God still has a purpose for me. I was in total amazement. God knew that I was full of fear regarding the test results, and He used my gynecologist to speak from Him through her to give me hope and encouragement. My gynecologist is an amazing woman who really is being used by God. Then later that evening, I got a text from her. She actually gave me her cell phone number. And she said I needed to listen to the song "Do It Again" by Elevation Worship. And I listened to it, and it helped to build my confidence. And it took away some of that fear I had been struggling with for way over a week. The next day, I was amazed at how peaceful I felt. I know it's because of God speaking to me that night before through my gynecologist. My husband and I went to the oncology appointment that next day. I refused to go by myself. I needed my husband's support. I was amazed at the words that came out of the doctor's mouth. He said he was happy with the CAT scan results. That was such a relief. He said I had inflammation because I was not blowing junk or coughing stuff up. I didn't need to have an antibiotic. I also had been struggling with a lot of sinus drainage for the last couple months, and I had been on an antibiotic before that didn't help. He thought maybe they were somewhat connected. He said he just wanted to have another CAT scan in 5 weeks to check to see how I was doing. So I prayed that God would heal my lungs in the meantime. During this time, I taught a Bible study on the armor of God. And as I was preparing for it, God gave me a nugget that really helped me mentally deal with the stress of uncertainty. And I plan to share more in detail in a future post about this, but I will share the important part that really helped me here. Sometimes we want to blame the devil for all of our circumstances. The fact is, we live in a fallen world, so life may not be pleasant at times. You know, sometimes what I call life just happens. So we can't blame everything on the devil. However, the devil will take our circumstances and do what he can to feed our mind lies, which in turn affects our emotions negatively. Therefore, we need to be alert and pay attention when our mind starts to go down that negative path. We need to not give in to the lies of the enemy, and we need to focus on the promises that God gives us. And when we do that, it can really help us emotionally. So I had to recognize that the enemy was trying to cause fear through the test results. And I had to choose not to listen to that lie. Instead, I chose to believe that by Jesus' stripes, I was healed, and that God would give me a good report. The following Monday, April 26th, I had an echocardiogram. This was my 3-month routine test to make sure that the cancer treatment was not causing any harm to my heart tissues. And thankfully, praise God, I finally got some good test results, and it came back normal. Then on May 3rd, something totally unexpected happened. I was talking to a lady in my building about my website, and all of a sudden, I felt like I was going to pass out, and my heart began to race super fast. I sat down, and then I told her I needed to get back to my office. I really was not feeling good. Once I got back to my office, I sat down, and slowly my heart began to not pound quite as fast. I wasn't sure what was happening. I really didn't think it was my heart, since I had just had a lot of heart tests last fall, and everything turned out to be good. I decided, since I wasn't feeling really well the next day, to go to my regular doctor, and he agreed it wasn't my heart. He said it could possibly be anxiety, but he wanted me to see a lung specialist to be sure. And his reaction, I asked if he thought I had cancer, if he thought that PET scan and CAT scan was showing cancer, and he wouldn't answer me. And the look on his face scared me, and I really, really respect this doctor. A week later, I saw the lung specialist he referred me to, and I was very nervous, but I tried to believe that God would answer my prayers with a positive report. I insisted my husband go with me as support, and I thank the Lord the lung specialist said it wasn't cancer. He said I had minor radiation damage from the radiation, and that's what was showing up on the PET scan and the CAT scan. However, he was puzzled that there was an area here on my left side, and he wasn't sure what it was. And I said, well, that's where I had the surgery for my thymoma. They had 3 incisions go in that area. Instantly, he said, well, that's just scarred tissue from the surgery. So that was a real relief. He did give me some prednisone, though, to help with the inflammation in the lungs. I had developed a cough over the last few weeks, and he said the cough was from the inflammation and also nasal drainage. So I was also glad to hear, because I'd had a cough, for actually years off and on, and I was concerned it might have been something, but he basically just says I have nasal drainage. The prednisone totally took that cough away. So then on May 27th, I had a second CAT scan, and thankfully the oncologist said it had improved. There also was a lymph node that had showed something on the previous scan, and this time it was normal. I was relieved that the test results were getting better. My cough basically had gone away. However, I still felt stressed and anxious on occasion. I think everything that I've gone through the previous 17 months had really affected me emotionally. I knew that acupuncture had really helped me before. However, I had not been able to see my acupuncturist for the last 6 months because he happened to have a severe concussion and hadn't been able to work. But thankfully on June 7th, I finally was able to see my acupuncturist. He said, considering all that I had been through, he was amazed. He said I was doing remarkably well. He gave me a treatment that helped my anxiety, and by the next day, I could tell a big difference in how I felt. I didn't feel jittery inside like I had. Another adjustment that I dealt with during all this time was my hair. My hair, somewhere in April of 2021, my hair had started to grow back. And it was starting to get long enough to not have to wear a wig. However, as it was growing back, the top and the sides did not blend good together. So I began wearing headbands, which is like what you're seeing right now. But without the headband, I look like, what's his name? Einstein? You know, the hair up. Or also the guy in Back to the Future, where the hair's just going all over. That's what it looks like. So with the headband, that helps. But people told me that they really liked this new look. And honestly, it feels good to not have to wear wigs or hats all the time. And it feels good to have my own hair. I'm not quite sure how it's going to go in the next month or so, because it's now finally starting to grow out enough that it's getting a little harder to style it, but we'll see. Now this post has brought me up to date in my cancer journey. As I go along my journey in the future, from time to time, I will post about my progress. And I will also continue to, on occasion, post about other spiritual topics. I definitely want to share some more about dealing with anxiety, fear, other topics such as divorce and finances. So I encourage you to stay tuned for more to come in the future from what God has taught me through this journey and through the journeys I've experienced in life. I want to leave you with this reminder. Joshua 1:9 from the New Living Translation. This is my command. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged. For the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. So again, no matter what we go through, we can be confident that God is with us. So be watching for more posts in the future.